Hello, I'm the Commander Zander. I remember it so that a science critic doesn't have to. And neither should you. And it's time for another installment of Movie Gladiator! This is a segment where I pit movies against one another. And seeing as how it's the 20-year anniversary of two bug movies that came out at exactly the same time, albeit in November, I think it's fitting to pit the two against each other and see which bug movie reigns supreme. Because we all know about the everlasting rivalry between Pixar and the copycats known as DreamWorks. Because every animated DreamWorks has been copied off of Pixar. And this was the first instance of it. Because one of the significant figures of Pixar moved on to DreamWorks. And wouldn't you know it, their movies would be the same about bugs. So with that, we're going to pit A Bug's Life by Pixar versus DreamWorks' Antz. 4 rounds will decide this one. Round 1, the plot. Round 2, the hero. Round 3, the villain. And round 4, the lasting impact that these movies have had. So, it is time to settle the long, everlasting debate once and for all, which bug movie reigns supreme. A Bug's Life or Antz? Let's start with round 1, the plot. So, as you could probably remember from A Bug's Life, the plot is the ants have to pick food for the grasshoppers bully the hell out of the ants, and one ant, the hero, which we'll get to into more detail later, named Flick, decides that he wants to make something of himself, per se. Except he doesn't bode well with the rest of the ants, so they fly him away when he comes up with this crazy, insane idea to get help in order to stop the grasshoppers. He gets circus bugs, who think they are acting when the ants think that they're the actual heroes to save the day. Oh, what a confusing plot that is. Not really. Basically, the race is on to get a grand scheme in order to lure the grasshoppers away before the grasshoppers come back and ultimately regain their lives. In the movie Antz, the plot is simple. An evil dictator, played by Gene Hackman, again, get to the villains later, is trying to build a utopia for ants, and he's going to wipe out any other ant that gets in the way. Woody Allen, who plays the hero, happens to thwart in the way and try and prevent this scheme from happening so that the ants can live freely amongst themselves. Decent plot, but I find A Bug's Life just happens to be a little bit more creative and a little bit out of the box, and the fact that Flick is going above and beyond to try and make an impact and save the day and all that stuff, whereas Woody Allen's character is basically just trying to stop an evil dictator, just like any other war movie. So with that, I'm giving round 1 to A Bug's Life. Round 2, the hero. In A Bug's Life, the hero is Flick. As I mentioned before, he is trying to make a name for himself because he just wants to be a part of the colony. He feels like he's an outsider, especially with his crazy, insane ideas, where he tries to cut down on crops and all these other insane schemes, and he fools around, or he foils everything, he spoils everything, he ruins everything everything he touches basically gets thrown into sham, so he's basically an outcast. Trying to redeem himself, he goes out and gets some circus bugs, which he proclaims are heroes, even though they're just actors, to try and save the day. Unfortunately, that plot gets unraveled. He is exposed as a fraud, a selfish person. He gets booted out, gets the exile, if you will, never to be seen again. But then he comes back with the circus bugs and redeems himself with the bird, saves the day, and stops the grasshopper named Hopper. I like Flick because he never gives up. He's always trying, and he's got that big heart. He's just trying to fit in, and he wants to be a part of the colony, and he ultimately does by saving the day. Now, Woody Allen's character is Z. Z4195, or Z for short. He's just a worker ant. Not known like Flick, and like Flick, is trying to save the colony in a way. In this instance, he's trying to stop the dictator played by Gene Hackman from creating a utopia that'll wipe out the rest of the ants and make a clean utopia for the better looking Antz. Again, not really much going into that one, or at least I didn't feel like going into that one. And with Flick, it's you get all the emotions. You get the highs, you get the lows, you get the in-betweens and all that stuff. So I think Flick is a very good hero. Nothing against Z. Woody Allen, I mean, he does a good job. And again, this movie is casted with star-studded characters. But I just think Flick, you can kind of understand what he's going through. Because most people are kind of like him. They want to make a name for themselves. And sometimes they feel like they're on the outside looking in. So I can relate to that. So with that, I'm giving round 2 to A Bug's Life. Round 3, the villain. In A Bug's Life, there's this evil grasshopper named Hopper who leads a herd of, well, you guessed it, grasshoppers to try and dictate the ants and get crops and make them do all the work for him. Because, well, they're too lazy and they want to show their superiority. He, of course, is played by the much maligned Kevin Spacey, and I only mention that because of what he's been going through lately. He does a good job playing his role. He kind of plays the villain of sorts, and he seems a bit cartoonish of a villain, which for a kid movie makes a lot of sense. Now on the other side, you've got Gene Hackman playing General Mandible from Antz. And again, he plays to his role magnificently. He is the dictator, if you will, that's trying to rule this utopia and wipe out the rest of the ant species. And he does it with a villainous arch and a golden fist and whatnot. I personally think that Gene Hackman's a much better ant villain as opposed to Kevin Spacey. Nothing against Hopper. But I just feel like Gene Hackman just plays his part magnificently. He plays the dictator. The general has to be the dictator. He's evil. He's got this great scheme to try and rule the world. Whereas with Hopper, it's just, oh, we're just going to mess around with the ants and that'll be that. You don't really get a significant plot amongst the villain as opposed to Gene Hackman's character. So with that, I'm giving round 3 to Antz. Now, fourth and final round is a significant impact. Obviously, these two have left a lasting impact because we keep having this debate as to which Bug movie is better. And oh, by the way, this is the movie this is the trend that started the rivalry between Pixar and DreamWorks, because DreamWorks would always mimic Pixar. And to be quite honest, they don't really do a good job. It's like a cheap imitation of what Pixar does. And that's the beauty of Pixar. They're creative. They're imaginative. They come up with the stuff and it works perfectly and the plots are magnificent, whereas DreamWorks is just copying what Pixar's doing and it doesn't really work too well. So I say Bug's Life, while it's not, it doesn't have while its plot is a little bit more simple than Antz, I feel like it's left a more lasting impact because this is what started the rivalry. They were able to have their movie be a hit. Antz was a hit too. But then this started the rivalry between the two. Unfortunately, this is the only instance where both movies were good-ish. Not great, but good enough to really leave a lasting impact. And it started the rivalry that was DreamWorks and Pixar. But, seeing as how Bug's Life and Pixar is a lot better, I gotta give the nod to Pixar and A Bug's Life. So, with a final score of 3 wins to 1, A Bug's Life is the winner of this movie, Gladiator. Now, that doesn't mean I don't like Antz. I think Antz is a decent movie. It's a really good, decent plot. But there's just something about A Bug's Life, and me being a Pixar fanatic, and I know that's a little bias in there, I just like A Bug's Life and how the animation rolls and how everything works perfectly. Nothing again against Antz. Antz is a really good movie too. But I just feel like with A Bug's Life, you get a little bit more magic to it. So, do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? For those who think Antz is the better movie, feel free to post your opinions in the comments section below either way, and let me know what you think about either movie. But you can't go wrong with either one of them in my book. Me being the Pixar person, it's a little bit of biasness, but I just like A Bug's Life just a little bit more. But I find both movies to be pretty good. I'm the Commander Zander. I remember until the nostalgia critic done that too, and neither should you.